It's September 16th, 2021. This is Roqe. Well, he is an internationally acclaimed composer and musician, and he's also one of the founders of the group Opium Moon, a band who took home a Grammy Award for their debut album in 2019. The great santoor player Hamid Saeidi. He's won acclaim around the world and has spent this past summer presiding over the release of 3 albums. He is with us for a feature interview coming up. But first, broadcaster Behzad Bolour and singer and writer Azam Ali join us for a special little tribute to and a remembrance of an Iranian music industry legend. This is conversations from, to, and about the Iranian diaspora of Jian Ghomeshi. This is Roqe. Hi there, welcome to episode 145 of Roqe. Hope you're keeping well wherever you are tuning in from around the world. Hello to you from Toronto, Canada. Salam Dostan Aziz, Durud bar shoma. Hamid Saeidi coming up in just a little while. Kian?
He won a Grammy, is that right?
Well,
the first Iranian
you heard the introduction.
That's all I got from that.
Listening. That's great.
Well, he's in a group called Opium. Actually, Shaya, play a little bit of Hamid Saeidi. This is Opium Moon. Take a listen. Taste of Opium Moon. That's Hamid on the santoor.
Wow, beautiful.
And they come together, these 4 musicians in the LA area, and end up forming a group, putting out their debut record in 2019, and then they win a Grammy for it.
That's amazing.
And he's just been busy as a beaver.
What?
Well,
What?
I think that's what they say. Busy as a beaver.
Oh, I've never heard that.
I guess
before.
beavers are busy. It's a Canadian thing.
Yeah, I know it's a Canadian thing, so obviously beaver.
I've heard it used in a foul way before, but...
Keon, that's you. I wasn't thinking that. He's busy as a beaver. He's building dams, doing things that
my
beavers
mind went
do.
somewhere else, Jian.
What's... Hello, the fabulous Keon.
Hi, Jian.
Hello, Captain Reza.
Hello, sir.
Hello, Groovy Shaya.
های
خوبی عزیزم.
عالی مرسی شما خوبی
آرومی میزونی
خوبم خوب
Also Behzad Bolour, the great Behzad Bolour, and the also great Azam Ali joining us in a few moments to talk in tribute to we lost somebody in the Iranian community in recent days who was instrumental in creating the conditions where people could hear Iranian music. In fact, the bricks and mortar places where you could go and find and buy and experience Iranian music, both in Tehran and then in Los Angeles. We'll get to that. Looking forward to having them on the program in just a few moments. We're coming to you on roqemedia.com. It is there that you can link to all of our platforms. We're on an ongoing mission to build a new audiovisual encyclopedia of Iranian diaspora identity. We're on Spotify, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, CastBox. If you like to see some visuals with Roqe, switch over to YouTube right now. And if you like your Roqe descriptions and bulletins in English and Farsi, check us out on Telegram. Instagram, YouTube, Telegram, it's all at Roqe Media, right,
That's
Captain
right.
Reza?
That's right, all that.
Captain Reza's been busy as a beaver.
Oh, is he?
Yes.
What's he doing?
I don't know. I'm trying to use the
Beats
expression.
me.
I'm trying to normalize the expression. In the coming days on Roqe, Arash Sobhani, Tina Talebi, Sitara Atai, Hushang Academy, Sasan Behnam Bakhtiar, who's an amazing young artist who, globally recognized artist at this point in France, Leila Padi, and Hadi Parzovi. Kia, do you recognize any of those
Maybe
names?
like 2 or 3 out of that very long list.
Of the list of impressive people.
Shame on me.
Shaya, of course, has dated all of them. He knows all of them. Actually, we joke about that, but that happens in our story meetings sometimes. Like,
It does.
somebody will get pitched, and Shaya will be like, I went for coffee with her once in Vancouver. And we're like, what? And it's usually after, like, the person gets pitched, and we'll go, oh, how are we going to get in touch with that woman? You know, does anybody know her? Does anybody have a... And then after, like, 10 minutes, Shia will be like, we went for dinner once in Tehran. And what? And then we lived together for 2 years.
2 years. Wait a minute, you dated Hushang Academy too?
All right. I should mention on this episode a big shout out to Farid Amirion and York National Realty for helping to bring this episode of Roqe to your ears and eyes. York National Realty is a boutique real estate company based in Aurora, Ontario, Canada, that provides top-tier service with its team of Farid, Sean, Fadavi, and Nahal Sultani. They are a full-service realty firm that are there for everyone from first-time home buyers to investors looking for new opportunities in the communities they serve. And Farid and the team have made it their mission to give back to the Iranian community and the diaspora. They've supported a number of Persian community events and projects. If you're looking for real estate, this boutique firm is where you should go. Thank you to Farid, Sean, and Nahal. York National Realty. Go to yorknational.com, yorknational.com. All right, let's get to it. We want to do something a little different today. A tribute to a man who played a major role in the celebration of Persian music, both in Iran and then in the diaspora, specifically in Los Angeles. His name was Abbas Chamanara, the co-owner of the legendary Beethoven music store with his brothers in Tehran, then the founder of Music Box, a store in Los Angeles. Abbas died last week, and we have a couple of special guests on the line to talk about his legacy. First, Behzad Bolour, the great broadcaster and producer with the BBC, is in London. Hello, Behzad Jan.
Durud, hello.
Durud, sir.
Thanks for inviting me.
Thank you. And Azam Ali, the artist, the songwriter, the singer, the force behind the group Niyaz, is in Los Angeles. Hi, Azam Jun.
Hi, Jian Jun. Hi, Behzad Jun. It's been so long.
Durud. Yes. Good to talk to you. I saw you about, I think, something like 13 years ago, 14 years ago in London's ICA concert you had long ago. Well, you didn't see me. I was in the crowd.
Well, it's nice to hear your voice again. Hi, Jian
Thank
Jun.
you.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. Have either of the two of you dated Shaya? That's what's
6 degrees of
I envy his
Shaya.
hair.
Azam John, I thought I should start with you. You're there in Los Angeles, where Abbas Chamanara really made a big impression in more recent years. I think you knew Abbas pretty well. Can you set this up for us? Can you tell us about the man and what he did for the Persian community?
Well, I would like to just express it from more of a personal standpoint, because what he has done for the Persian community is kind of speaks for itself in terms of the impact the Music Box had. It's beyond the Persian community. There are so many stories, and when I shared a post about, I wrote a tribute for him, so many people who are not Persians ended up sharing their experience of going into that store to discover Persian music and what that store meant to him. So it was kind of a landmark for Los Angeles. And what he did was, he was a trailblazer. He was a trailblazer. I met him as a teenager, actually. I was very much interested in folkloric music, particularly Iranian folkloric music. And at that time, YouTube didn't exist, the internet didn't exist. So I used to just go into these bookstores looking for music. And I ended up just going into his store, going into the Music Box, and asked him if he had any Iranian folk music. And he looked at me very strangely, because he said nobody young ever asked those kind of questions. So he got very excited, and he went to the back and brought this huge box out, and it was full of old cassette tapes. And he said, well, you can look through these. There's a lot of great folk music here. So I started looking through them, and then the ones that interested me, I took them out, and he was so excited. He started playing them. And then I would spend hours on the either Saturdays or Sundays. I used to visit him there, and I would spend hours just going through these cassette tapes. He'd play them. He'd bring us tea. And then it kind of became my routine where every weekend I used to go, and he would set aside tapes for me that he knew I was going to love. And actually, the first songs I recorded, Niaz folk songs I recorded for our group Niaz, were ones that I discovered through him. And I didn't see him for many, many years once I started my career. And then I went in one day, and I was, already well into my 20s at that point. And he was so excited when I walked in. He had put all my CDs on his main wall. It was sort of like seeing a very proud uncle.
Yeah, you shared some of what you just said on that post, and it was incredible to see the kind of people responding to the post on social media at how many lives he touched. Behzad, let me bring you in here. I mean, in a moment, I want to ask you about Beethoven music and the importance of that store in Tehran, which gets named a lot. But first, did you know Abbas? Did you ever meet him personally?
Yes, sure. I met him first in 1996, then 1998, then 2002, then 4, then 6. Then I think the last time I saw him, he was talking about he cannot keep the shop going. And I remember, I have so many fantastic memories of him. First of all, his very distinguished eyebrows and his extremely welcoming face and eyes, and he was always smiling. He was like a representative of an age that is lost now in our community and our culture. And I remember he was always leaning on one side on his counter and always direct me to others, go to get this CD, go to get that. Actually, at the first time when I saw him, it was all cassettes, and CDs was just about becoming more and more popular, and they were very expensive. So I remember him, and then his wife. He was amazing. We would talk about Beethoven in Iran, because I'm that age that I used to go to Beethoven in 1970s and buy cassettes, and later on videotapes before I moved to London. So he was an amazing character. We would talk about music, we would talk about pop music, talk about his family, because I knew his nephew, I think, Abbas Chamanara, also, he had a very important role in introducing underground Persian music. And going back to Abbas, or Abbas June, I remember I bought some of the first, not first, I mean, since I live in London, so I used to buy cassettes for our music show, which I used to do music request show for BBC Persian, not BBC Farsi, BBC Persian, just to remind you on that. And we used to go to these different groceries in London, because there wasn't really a tape shop. So when I went to America, I said, oh my God, there's a shop only selling tapes, cassettes, videos, and maybe video. Yeah, video was there as well. And I was amazed. And I bought a big box, and he gave me a fantastic reduction. So lots of my request songs was played by the cassettes, which I bought from him directly. And I always used to go there, and he had an amazing collection of so many different variety of Iranian music, from folk to classical to some very rare cassettes from Ruhozi style, which is let's say downtown Tehran folk songs. And I remember he was always helping me immensely. I was looking for this cassette, that cassette, this singer, and he was always helping me, because he knew I'm going to play it back to the Iranians. So I always remember him as a fantastically good-natured person. And every time I went to Los Angeles, I had to go and meet him, because I just love meeting him and stand next to him, in front of him in the counter, by the counter, and talk about music and just enjoying his presence. He's amazing.
Behzad, let me just ask you, because I want to ask about Los Angeles and Music Box, but even before that, so as far as I can understand, because I've heard so much about Beethoven music, the store in Tehran, and especially the early years of it. It started by these brothers, Abbas being one of them, and it's almost like takes on this sort of mythical quality, because when we bring on musicians or music lovers, what they always name check it. There was this store I went in. Why was this one store, Behzad, in a city of millions, so pivotal?
Yeah, first of all, it was a very nice location. I remember it was a beautiful street, and it was all the way up to the ceiling with cassettes and records and everything. And for us, I was a kid going there with my older brother sometimes, or with my father to look. It was the atmosphere of music, and you could hear music. And it was very rare in those days, to go to a shop and just see music. I remember before Revolution, there were many little music shops in Tehran, and there was another competitor called Stereo 2000, which was even bigger than Beethoven. But Beethoven had that true sense, like a little bookshops that are very personal. They have the full knowledge of everything. You don't see the shop assistant change. There are always people who are there and they know about the music industry. You can see in their eyes that they had hands in recording music. As far as I heard, Abbas' brother, Mr. Karim, also brought first vinyl recorders to London, to Tehran, and started the recordings back long time ago. So going to Beethoven was that atmosphere of music from all different kinds, from pop music of the West and rock music to Persian music. So that was a very unique shop for us.
And Azam John, what can you? I mean, especially in those early years where this store captures your imagination. What can you describe Music Box for us, Azam?
Well, it was kind of really the best way to describe is that it was a boutique music store, but it was beyond a music store. Even Beethoven music, for that matter. I had the privilege of being able to visit it only once when I went back to Iran after 25 years. And it had a very similar feeling. Of course, Beethoven music was a lot bigger than by the time I visited it, but it was beyond music. They brought international music and documentaries and films, really high art, things that you would not find in your average sort of run-of-the-mill music store. And they were kind of mirror boutiques, both of them, Beethoven Music and Music Box. So it reflected just the way that this family revered art in general, music, films. I discovered Majid Majidi, for example, through Abbas Chamanara. I would go in, I would ask for films, like Iranian films that he loved, and he would tell me, go watch this, you have to get this. He was just so passionate. It wasn't like just running a store, And one of my friends actually on the tribute that I wrote shared a really great story that one day Robert Plant had walked into the music box and asked Abbas Chamanara to recommend some Persian music to him because he loved Persian music. And he asked for which artist he recommended. And then Abbas Chamanara said, I sell your music here. Mm-hmm. And he showed it to him on the wall, and Robert Plant was just shocked. So they ended up taking pictures together and becoming friendly. So it was this is just the kind of person that he was. He loved music, films, documentaries, all of this beyond just the geographical borders of Iran. Of course, they predominantly featured a lot of Iranian artists. Actually, my husband, his first band, Axiom of Choice, which ended up really becoming hugely popular in Iran, they owe, Ramin will tell you, he owes a large part of his success to the Chamanara family, because Babak at Beethoven Music was the person who really championed the band when they first began, and they owe a lot of their popularity to the Chamanara family. So this is just kind of how it was. It was really a boutique store run by deeply passionate art lovers.
It's the curatorial aspect that becomes so important. I mean, these stores would become the epicenters of our cultural journeys, and I guess we all know that record shops are not really thriving businesses anymore. And one of the things that we lose, I mean, I was telling the gang here, because they either weren't in Canada yet or they were too young, but there was a store in Toronto that anybody who was here in the 80s and 90s would remember, called Sam the Record Man. And Sam the Record Man, it was actually a big shop, and it ended up being a bit of a chain, but it was the kind of place that you, first of all, if you wanted to buy something, you go down to Yonge and Dundas downtown in Toronto and you go to this record store that has all these records all over the walls, and it was this emporium of music that was unlike anything I'd seen before. But the other thing was that it was always the staff were the kind of people who they just knew their shit. They were music nerds, or they were curators in themselves, and that you could ask someone, in some cases almost intimidatingly, because you're like, I'm going to expose myself of not knowing enough about Rush or something, but I'm going to ask them, and then they're going to tell me which album I should buy. And I don't know what replaces that in this era, but it sounds like, Azam John, that Abbas Chamanara was that kind of curator, that it was more than just a shop, and it was more than just a friendly owner of a shop, but a guy that you could go to and really be led to the kind of music or culture that you end up loving to consume.
Yes, I think curator is probably the most accurate term to describe who he was. It's so true. And if he recommended something to me, he would recommend things to you based on the knowledge he had of you and what you would like. This is what was so remarkable about him, is that he remembered every single person that went into his shop, and he knew exactly what to recommend to whom. So if he recommended a CD to me or a film to me, I knew that I would have to just go and explore it, because I trusted his taste so much,
Behzad, do you feel that as well, that curatorial aspect that he would have had?
Sure. And that curatorial aspect is, is a bit different with Chamanara, or Abbas Jun, or them, because you can see their roots going back to 1950s and 60s, because you have a very clever shop assistant who knows about music, yes, but these people, you could feel that they live with these people that they're selling. They went to the studios when they were recording, and you could sense that, and the calmness in his words, and just few words said rather than blabbering around. You can feel that. And then another thing which I want to add is, at that time there were many other. When I met Abbas and went to Music Box, there were many other music shops in Westwood, and they're mostly selling books and cassettes, or even grocery and that. And I can just say that when you went there to that part of the store which they sell music, there was like as if there was a death or emptiness. But with Abbas, it was different. You would go there, although it didn't look much, it didn't have any any kind of let's say prettiness or something, but you just felt extremely comfortable being there, as if you're in the safe hands. Because as if when you go there, Abbas was said, this is us, this is our life, so you can just join us in this life that we have shared in this shop, and you can be there, browse around if you want, as much as you want, and you could never feel that you're being looked at and they're thinking that why you're there for too long. It was just amazing, the feeling of culture and music. You could feel it there, and at those days it was very rare.
Behzad, can I ask you, and then I'll ask Azam somewhat the same question. Because you're both people who've observed the music industry from the inside and the outside for many years, and when it comes to the Persian music industry, quote unquote, because I'm not sure we can even call it an industry sometimes, it's so small or weak in some ways, and underdeveloped. It would seem strange for some people, even as I mentioned, an iconic store like Sam the Record Man, the Western music business does not turn on one store, here or there. Can you give us context for how a store like Beethoven Music, or for that matter, Music Box in Los Angeles, why that would be so important even to the big Persian artists?
Iranian music industry is like a person who just had an accident and has gone to the emergency unit. We are not a normal country, so you cannot look at us in a normal way. During Shah time was just a self circulating business, which was based on just very rare families buying records. Mostly was the music industry was managed by weddings, special events, and cabarets. Concerts wasn't even that popular. It was mostly done for the Shah or very rarely once a year. So we have that. Then we have after revolution, which is the music has been stopped and became a crime. And then you have these people who have moved to Los Angeles or London or Germany, and they kept this little treasure as if it's like a diamond that some other bank was raided, and they just managed to keep some of this special jewel. So for us, these shops were like our culture centers. This is where we could feel Iranian. This is where our very small music industry, which is trying to survive outside Iran in its own way of little freedom that it has, was representing being Iranian. I would go there to feel connected to Iranians in Iran, because music culture is not just music. Is for us is about different identities, different way of thinking, different politics, different histories. Classical music for us is a way of thinking that connects me to somewhere in Kurdistan or to Isfahan. So music industry for us is immature and is scattered and battered because it never had a chance to evolve because of many different political changes in Iran, and also making people getting used to having music for free because of the radio in the Shah time, and also these days because of the free downloads and everything, and all the singers are desperate to be heard, and they've forget about the economy behind the music, because that doesn't work anymore, and even the concerts have stopped for a long time. So it's just a desperate situation, and in that desperate situation, music shops is closed down, and it's a big shame. And places like Music Box for us was my Iranian identity center. That's what I felt, and I felt the same in Dubai when I saw a music shop, or in London. Chamanara's music shop was connected to Beethoven, was connected to my Iran. It felt very different when I went to that shop compared to when I went to another shop which was 20 meters down the road in Westwood, or thousands of kilometers away in Dubai. Here, I was connected also into 1970s and 60s because Abbas Chamanara belonged, his roots was from that era, and I could connect to it.
It's really beautifully said, Azam.
Wow, he's Behzad John, thank you. He really expressed that so beautifully that
Thank you.
it would be
With broken
difficult
English.
No, you expressed it. It came from the heart, and you actually expressed it so beautifully. I think, if I would just, there's not much I can add to that, but I would only go as far as to say that when I try to describe Abbas Chamanara and what Music Box has meant to me in my life and career, I would say that the day I walked into his store as a 17 or 18-year-old, I was going in there not in search of music. I was going in there in search of identity.
Yes, absolutely.
And this is what he represented for me as an artist. I feel like I was going in there to find out where I came from, where are my roots, when you're uprooted like that. And that
Absolutely.
demands a lot of trust between you and the person who you are going to, who is entrusted with this great task of preservation of culture, and that's what he was. He was a preserver of culture and tradition. And for those of us who had zero connection to it, he was holding the key to our identity. So that's what the Music Box meant for me. It was the first key to discovering my own identity and falling in love with my culture while I was thousands of miles away from the land and its people.
Really beautifully said.
I agree.
And Azam, you are there in Los Angeles. Is there what can you tell us about how the community has reacted, if there's any sort of memorial or?
It's unbelievable. I mean, honestly, if you had another hour, I would sit here and just read to you the messages I've received from my American fans and friends after they read my tribute. Thank you so much for posting about the music box, we would have never discovered so much of the Persian music that we love if it wasn't for his store. It's the impact that he had even beyond the Persian community. I mean, the Persian community really took his death hard, and rightfully so. But you have to understand that he also the music box became a vortex where non-Iranians used to go to discover something about a culture that for the large part is so enigmatic in the American psyche,
Yes.
and not necessarily in a good way. So people who went in there wanted to learn about the beautiful aspects of Iranian culture, and that place was really what it was like a museum, no different than that. He preserved something very beautiful about our culture, and he kept it alive. And people who went in there, non-Iranians, went in there to discover something about an Iran that they are not taught about every day. So in general, I would say the loss for both the Iranian community and music lovers in the non-Iranian community is tremendous.
Let me just bring Shaya in. Shaya, if you want to, because I know, I know you know Babak Chamanara.
Yes, actually I met Abbas Jan. I mean, I remember it was my first day or my second day when I arrived in Los Angeles. I went to Music Box it was the first place actually that I visited in Los Angeles. And so I'm Babak's friend, so. And I cannot add anything to what Azam Jun and Behzad Jun said, but I want to say that the Beethoven shop in Iran also, I was going there to find my identity, not for music,
Even as an Iranian in Iran.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. I would ask Reza what you want to contribute, but I know there's pretty much nothing you can contribute. So
Sadly, unfortunately.
I think it's better to not ask you.
Bottom of the barrel here. But
Maybe Badi to Jian.
I know, it's terrible.
I love him.
terrible.
I love him. He's my brother. Go ahead, Reza. Yeah.
But no, I wanted to say, that being said, though, getting introduced to the Chamanara family, I think, family business, Beethoven family, and the contribution he's made to the Iranian culture and to the diaspora, I can't help but feel proud.
Yeah.
And that's for you, Kian. You don't think I'm proud of being Iranian? I am.
You surprised me. I feel very sad that I didn't get the chance to view either of these stores and meet this wonderful man. I have no words after listening to
Well, I think
both of you.
the music box is still there, right? Is it going to continue?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes, I'm sure that his son and his wife, who's also such a beautiful woman, I'm so sorry for their loss. They were kind of inseparable. She was always at the store almost every single time that I was in there. So I hope that his wife and his son are going to keep the store open, and that itself is not going to end, because really an era came to an end with his passing for me. And I hope at least the music box stays open.
Well, you've both done such great work here in terms of keeping the memory alive and paying tribute. I thank you both for taking the time and for your insights. We learn from you. Azam Jan, it's always a pleasure to have you. Behzad, you're like a cultural historian for us, and it's so appreciated. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you for having us, and thank you, Jian Jun, for doing this feature on Abbas Chamanara and the Music Box and paying tribute to a truly great human being.
Thank you, Azam.
Yeah, me too. I want to thank you, Jian, because I wanted to do something about Abbas Chamanara, and I wanted to call BBC and write something, but it never happened. So thank you for that chance. And if you don't mind, I want to end with a happy ending, so a happy note.
Please.
If you don't mind. I just want to say a memory of San Diego. About 15 years ago, I went to a Native American shop, and there was this amazing bag, which was very small, and it reminded me of some of the movies. I thought it's made of hard cardboard, and it was very expensive. I remember at the time it was like 4 or 5 times more expensive than the other bags. But I bought it. It was very thick, very hard, and a bit oily. And I asked what the leather is. They say it's beaver leather.
Wow.
So beaver's tail are used unfortunately for bags.
How dare you? How dare you exploit the
It's
Canadian
very
beaver?
Was this a happy note?
It was a funny note referring to the beginning of the show.
Right, yes. Nothing to do with the loving tribute to Abbas Chamanara. Yeah. Thank you, Behzad. Always a pleasure.
Thank
Hope to
you.
see you soon. Bye,
Thank you.
Azam. Bye. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye,
Thanks.
everyone. Bye-bye.
That is the great BBC broadcaster Behzad Bolour, and of course the recording artist, the singer, the songwriter, the writer Azam Ali. Behzad was in London. Azam was in Los Angeles. That was nice, huh?
It was beautiful. I'm completely speechless after hearing
You know, these I do wonder. I mean, it's kind of a cliche to lament the end of bookstores and the end of record stores, but you realize that these are. What Azam said, and I think everybody said, Behzad said, and you echoed beautifully, Reza, is the idea that you're not just going there to find music, or you're going there to find yourself, you know. And these are the places where we found ourselves. And I don't know if that happens on a website or on a Spotify chart or something, right?
No, and this keeps happening. This like for me, video stores is a big thing. Like Dundas Video Store in Toronto, downtown Toronto, which still exists, and they still rent out like DVDs and stuff like that, and it's such a unique place, and the little cozy video store, and God knows how long that's gonna be around. But it's one of those places that you feel depressed, you're I'm gonna go pick up something like a movie or something. You wander around the store, you talk.
Going to the video store, and I don't know if you guys remember this, if you were here in Canada at the time. Keon, you might remember that Blockbuster in its heyday actually had popcorn in the store.
That's right.
You would go, and so going to the store was half the date. Like it was like, let's go walk around with our popcorn, figure out which movie we're gonna get. You know, you might not even end up watching the movie. It's just spending the time walking around a store, looking at movies and talking about them. Right?
These are lost treasures.
It really is. Yeah. I remember actually when Blockbuster closed down, like they got that location, when they got the call that they have to close down, I was checking out a video. I was checking out a movie, and the guy, like, the look on his face was priceless.
Did you get to check out the movie, or
I
did they take it away from you and say we're closed now?
No, but the guy was like, I remember, like, I was checking it out, and then he was on the phone, and then he looked like I thought like he got bad news, like his mother passed away or something. I don't know, because he looked like he's seen a ghost. He was like, oh, okay, and then he hung up the phone. I'm like, you okay, dude? He was like, not really. I just lost my job. I'm like, oh my God, I'm sorry.
It's so interesting that it wouldn't have been that long ago, right? We're talking about 20, 25 years ago, maybe, or
when they closed down?
Yeah.
No, they closed down in 2009.
Okay, but I mean, it is heyday. Let's say it was
heyday.
20 years ago.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not that long ago, and yet
No.
a kid now. It would seem like you're from a different planet. You're like, we used to
Totally.
go to a place where we would get a box and be like, well, why wouldn't you just press download on your computer?
Why didn't
know?
you just watch Netflix?
Yeah. Why would you go somewhere? We used to get in the car, walk across the city, go into a store, pick out a large box, and then take it to a counter. And I mean, the whole thing seems like the caveman days at this point.
Yeah.
This is Roqe coming to you on roqemedia.com, where you can become a patron of our program. Just press the support us button. roqemedia.com is the hub of all things Roqe. We are going to be launching some new programs on Roqe Media, including the Contemporary History of Iran, which we will launch. It's called The Contemporary History of Iran. A new podcast will launch on a couple of Sundays from now. So stay tuned for that, because it's going to have its own platform. We're going to direct you to where you can start to become a subscriber for that program if you're interested. The Contemporary History of Iran coming up on Roqe Media. All right, the fabulous Keon, Captain Reza, Groovy Shaya. We'll see you in a little bit. Let's get to our featured guest. My featured guest today is an internationally acclaimed composer and musician. He's also one of the founders of the group Opium Moon, a band who took home a Grammy Award for their debut album in 2019. Take a listen to this. little taste of the piece Gravity Equals Love, the lead-off track from the debut album by the band Opium Moon. So Opium Moon are a multinational quartet that formed in 2017 to create instrumental improvisations and songs, combining, amongst other things, Iranian classical music with an Eastern spirit. In 2019, they won the Grammy Award for their eponymously named record in the Best New Age Album category, and one of the founders of Opium Moon that you might have heard playing the santoor in that clip is an Iranian-American musician named Hamid Saeidi. Hamid was born in Tehran. He was trained in the Radif system of Persian traditional music from the age of 15 and studied santoor with Master Majid Kiani. Hamid holds a degree in music from the Iranian Academy of the Arts, where he studied composition. He has performed all over the world and has composed musical scores for more than 35 films, television programs, dance, and theatrical presentations. His work has received awards at the Beirut Film Festival, the Iran TV Festival, and the Society of Critics of Theater in Iran. Since 2009, Hamid has been based in Los Angeles, where he writes, produces, and teaches. He co-founded Opium Moon in 2017. Then in 2018, he founded Hamid Saeidi Ensemble as well, to bring traditional and contemporary Persian poetry and music to broader audiences. Opium Moon have two brand new records entitled Day and Night, and Hamid has his own brand new solo record called Mist Over. But first, right now, Hamid Saeidi joins me from Los Angeles, California today. Hello, sir.
Hi, Jian John. I'm so happy to finally get a chance to talk to you. That's great.
It's my pleasure, and I'm very happy that we get to do this as well. And congratulations, belated as it is, for this Grammy Award and for your recent successes. You know, it's been, I guess it's been quite a couple of years for you, despite the pandemic slowing things down a little. You form Opium Moon. You guys put out a debut record. You become Grammy winners. I'm assuming you didn't expect all of this would happen so fast.
Honestly, not really. We started Opium Moon very gentle. Actually, the Opium Moon project was the easiest project for me ever because there wasn't that much of preparation. The only thing that we prepared ourselves before recording was that we put aside our egos and put aside our techniques and put aside, whatever, as a professional musician or producer, all of us, all four of us, all the tools that we use to impress our audience, well, we promise each other to not use them and try to get and create pure energy and pure music.
Do you think that energy and that chemistry has to naturally evolve, or is there a way to induce that energy? In other words, was it fated that you guys ended up playing together and just found that you had that chemistry together, or can you foster that with good musicians?
Actually, I think that was sort of fate. Me and Lily start this band. We promised each other about 7-8 years before to make a recording together. When we accidentally start thinking about Opium Moon and we remind that we promise each other to make a recording together, immediately Itai came to our mind, our bassist, which is Lily's husband. The energy was perfectly between three of us. Now we needed percussion. We brought a couple of percussionists and we start just playing, just jamming. And as soon as MB joined us, I think everything just made sense. For sure, our background is somehow connected to the same music that we are creating, but it didn't happen intentionally. We didn't plan for that. We just got connected to each other.
speaking of not planning for that, I mean, I understand that you guys knew each other for a while as musicians in LA. You've told a little bit of the story there, but you didn't actually come together 3 or 4 years ago because of Opium, despite the name of the group Opium Moon, but because of tequila.
Exactly.
You could actually be Tequila Moon. Can you tell the story of how did tequila enable this group to come together?
Some of my friends, they were guests in my place. We got together. We drank a lot of tequilas, and then I believe it was 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. something like this. We decided to let's play some music. Let's do jamming. And we came to my studio, and we just start playing very, very simple, very, very simple. And one of my friends, who is a great music presenter and manager of Omar Faruk Tekbulek, a huge Turkish musician, after we played for 45 minutes or half an hour or something like this, and we finished, and we start laughing and talking, and the guy told us, "Were you guys aware what just happened?" And we said, "What happened?" "We just played." And he said, "No, it wasn't just jamming, and he at the middle of our playing, he started recording with his phone." And he said, "Okay, listen to this," and hooked his phone to my system, where we listened to with a good sound, and we were shocked. It was really, really interesting music. It was very, very interesting. And the guy said, "Okay, whatever the hell you guys are doing, you have to do it on a stage. I don't know what are you doing, but you have to do this." And then me and Lily remember, oh my God, we promised each other 7 years ago, 8 years ago to do an album together. Let's do it then.
The question is, to create that magic each time you do a concert, how much tequila do you have to drink backstage?
Actually, I personally, I love tequila. Honestly, I always have couple of shots of tequila before any shows. This is my ceremony.
As long as you keep it at a couple, we got to keep the santoor parts understandable. I mentioned in the introduction that the music is improvisational, and I really love this about what you guys do. And I really want to. You've just made the point to a certain extent in terms of the genesis of the group, but I really want to emphasize this for folks listening. In other words, you guys just get together and jam, and then you record and release. I mean, there is this is not manufactured. There isn't you don't sit and write a song and labor over it and bring it to the other members and go, okay, you play this part, you play this part. It's got to be very freeing and a very visceral exercise. And at the same time, I think you probably, knowing good musicians, you probably all have to fight the instinct to want to somehow structure it, right? To want to maybe I could do it better if I went to this chord or something like that.
I need to tell you two stories. First, after we recorded, somehow the frequency clashed, the frame drum with the bass. And our sound engineer, the person who was mix and mastering, we used 5 or 6 of the best sound engineers. And for them, immediately was, okay, so let's remove this frequency to not have this sort of noise and clash of frequency together. And they did it, and we listened to the music, and all of us said, okay, this is right, but this is not our music. It is too clean now.
Wow.
It is too much. It shouldn't be like this. If we are going to do that clean, then we're gonna play something else. It's very interesting. I heard from another sound engineer friend that now in Los Angeles, when they get to this kind of clash, they suggest to their client, okay, listen, we can remove this, but Opium Moon use this, and this is part of their music.
Right.
You choose whatever you want to do. It is very interesting and fascinating.
It's great. In other words, especially in this day and age where we record on our computers on Logic Pro and you can fix everything. You're talking about, I mean, I think this generalizes where the music can become so antiseptic, so sanitized, that you're losing what the actual charm of the music is. Even mistakes that are corrected, I think sometimes take away from what is attractive about something that's been recorded, right?
Exactly. I think sad thing is that now we as a musicians or producer, we make music not with our ear, we make music with our eyes. And I believe we are losing a lot of things to do that.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I'm too old and I'm too lazy. I don't want to to do too much editing on the music. That's why I'm trying to prove this. But it is not like that. I'm talking about music. Seriously, as you said, sometimes mistakes in music are beautiful. We are human beings. You need to put aside your ego and not care or not worry about whatever other musicians in a very first step gonna think about you. And we think about that.
Yeah.
And it was so difficult to put this thinking aside. We had this self-confidence to, okay, now let's make some mistake.
Hamid, take me back to how this all happened for you. Take me back to growing up in Iran. When did the santoor become your love?
It's interesting. Have you heard about Said Karim?
I don't think so.
He's an old comedian. It was a Nawar, the tape in our house. It was Said Karim for, I don't know, 200,000 years ago. I don't know. And he was making joke, and he had two musicians, one with one instrument and another one with tombak. I didn't know what is that instrument.
Uh-huh.
And I asked from different people, what instrument is this? And they said, this is santoor. Keep this in mind. A couple of years after that, close to our house, it was a do tabaqe autobus bus with two flats, should I say?
A double-decker bus.
Yeah, and it goes to Meydan Baharistan. Meydan Baharistan there is a lot of music store, like traditional music store. In one of them, a guy was tuning a santoor, and I was watching him from the outside of the store, and it was snowing. And the guy came outside and asked me, do you need anything? I said, no, I'm just watching. And he said, okay, you're gonna do Sine Pahlu, you're gonna get cold. Just come inside, sit here, watch whatever I'm doing, but do not stay outside. And I sat there and watched him for, I don't know, half an hour, 1 hour, whatever. And I came back at home and said, okay, I want to play santoor. In that moment, my mom, my dad, and everybody just kindly, they told me, okay, shut up. You just go to school, do your thing, and you're not supposed to be a musician, and you're too young to get to this world. You need to do your stuff. And a couple of months after that, it was Eid, it was Nowruz. I got my ADs, the money that people give to kids. I got my ADs and went to the same store and said, okay, I love santoor, but I want to play something. I want to play music. But the elderly guy who was here said, okay, I know you love the santoor, but I suggest you start with tombak. It's gonna help you a lot if you want to do whatever you want to do. I start playing tombak. After about 6 months, I had a gold necklace, and I went to my mom and said, okay, Mom, I want to sell this and buy sand. I seriously want to play santoor. I think I need to do that. And I bought my santoor after 6 months, and I start playing. I was playing tombak and santoor at the same time.
And how old were you?
I was about 12.
And did you end up selling your gold chain for the santoor?
Yes.
Wow, I love that. I mean, I
remember how much we sold that chain. We sold that 15,000 tomans. At that time.
And you really, once you started playing the santoor, the one that you bought, I mean, there was no going back. The feeling that you had was a correct one. You knew this was fated. This was going to be your life.
Honestly, I wasn't thinking about my life. I just wanted to play. When I went to the school the first time, university, nobody was expecting me to be a professional musician, including myself, honestly.
When you say that you went to school and even then you didn't think you could become a professional musician, you not only become a professional musician, but you become a very successful one in Iran. You were a film and TV score maker. You were a producer. Something happens. You're still in your 30s at this point. You're in it's leading up to the year 2009 when you end up leaving Iran. Something happens where you become kind of blacklisted on some level by the government, and it was because you were advocating for compensation, for copyright compensation for artists, if I have the story right. I don't know if there's a brief version of this story, but can you explain what happened, how you sort of fell out with the government when you were having so much success as a music maker in Tehran?
First of all, I think the only mistake that I made was I was too loud. I wasn't doing only music and making money out of it. I was doing too many things. We were 7 people. Later, we called ourselves Hafta. We put together information about copyright, and we thought if sometimes, anytime, Iran wants to accept the copyright for music or for any art form, the government doesn't know anything about the copyright of any kind of art, especially music. They do not know what to do. They do not know royalties. They do not know what is copyright and how it works.
Right. It's a tragedy.
Yeah. We start to put together some information to just dedicate to them. And if somehow they accept the law and they start practicing the law, have something to know how to research more, know the terms, the very basic terms.
But also in terms of creating the infrastructure for musicians to get compensated for what they do, which would then lead to more fertile ground for other musicians to grow, for young musicians to find their path, and for the music industry, for the artistry of Iran to flourish. The heartbreaking part of when I heard about this story with you is what you were advocating for is so benign. I mean, it's not like you were leading a revolution and throwing Molotov cocktails at a legislature. You're saying, hey, let's educate ourselves about copyright for musicians, for artists. You would think that the government, the Dolat, would actually would think this is a service that you're providing, would want to get behind you on this. It's I mean, add it to the list of frustrating things we can talk about in terms of the way Iran has been governed in recent decades. But it's a heartbreaking story. So this loud voice that you had would lead you to basically lose business. Is that what happened by 2007, 2008, where you're just not getting the same contracts or gigs? And
exactly. I for master degrees, I got accepted for Danishgah Tehran, and they start questioning me as a criminal person in Vezarat Amzesh Ali, which is a very, very scary memory for me. And I realized something is wrong, and I'm sort of boycott now. I
Right.
cannot do anything.
This creates the conditions where you end up leaving Iran in 2009 with your partner at the time in music and in life, Mohammad Khadem. You come to California, you come to Los Angeles. Here you are, a guy who, I mean, everyone I know who talks about you talks about how much of a master you are as a musician. And we can hear that in your recordings. You're this great musician who had a thriving business of music in playing music and writing music and producing music in Tehran before that dried up. How difficult was the transition for you when you got to America?
It was very difficult, very, very difficult. And at the same time, I was lucky to have some foundation and have some good friends and have some good people around me. But it was very, very difficult. I couldn't speak English. Still, I have problem with this language. I didn't know anybody. And I wasn't trained honestly, to be a musician like this, to just go from this gig to other gig and do this and play Turkish music and play Arabic music. And this is now play this chart, and now this is your show and you're playing. And not me, nobody in Iran is trained for being a professional musician. We have a lot of great professional music teachers. We have some great musicians that they can play their own music. But when it comes to worldwide crazy music business, we are not trained for that.
Sorry, so what would the person who's in the Tehran Symphony be? Isn't that a professional musician?
Imagine the same person who is playing in a symphony. He is playing part. He's playing chart for those music, or for some of them for the recording perfectly. Okay, so some of them have this job and have this opportunity to play in different recording and play the chart. But how about that? If you ask them, okay, as an Iranian, they are hired here as an Iranian violin player, cello player, or whatever. So this is the environment, and we are on, for example, A major. So can you please bring something from your background to this music and play it? And we have only 4 minutes for practice. How can you do that? For sure that the answer is not.
Wow.
No. At the other hand, if you bring great tar player, great kamancha player, santoor player, they are fantastic, fascinating, and say, okay, for example, you are master in playing shur from D or shur from G, but sorry, this music is in A, it's in C, and you have to play shur from C. Can you please do that? As they say, how? The infrastructure of the music teaching and music business in Iran is corrupted and it's somehow wrong.
It's just the more I learn, the less I understand sometimes when it comes to. I mean, if you were trying to plan for this kind of dysfunction, you couldn't achieve it. You know, this is just this is years of a shit show repeating itself to get to a point where what you're saying. I mean, it's incredibly tragic. Why? Because we're talking about almost 100 million people, some of whom are incredibly talented, would have so much possibility that is being suppressed, repressed, unable to grow, unable to find its footing because of these kind of, this kind of legacy. And there's so much focus on the top levels of politics and missiles and whatever, but this is the minutia. This is the kind of stuff that is just culturally tragic to me. So you, however, do come here. I feel like I could spend the entire interview peppering you with questions to understand this. So I want to move back to you here and talk about your what you've been able to build in the West for the last 12 years, which is really impressive. And back to this Grammy-winning moment that you've now had. By 2013, despite the fact that you say you can't speak the language well and you don't know a lot of people and all of that, you released your solo record. It's a record that I absolutely love, Imaginary Knots, and I find it quite adventurous. I want to play a little taste of the lead-off track from this record. This is a song called Rap and Weft. This is Hamid Saeidi on Roqe.
اولشو جاش زدم دوتا یکی زدم یا بی پلوش زدم سه تام یکی زدم یه زنگاری پلوش زدم سه تا وانی قهوه زدم سه تا آبی زدم یه کرم پلوش زدم دوتا وان تو زدم سه تا وان پس زدم آورده کن زدم آخرش برده زدم دوتا یکی برده زدم دمشو جاش بزن زدم سه تا پلوش بزن زدم دوتا یکی پس بزن زدم آخرشو جاش زدم یکی برده زدم یکی برده زدم یکی هم یکی زدم 8 تا یکی زدم 4 تا یکی زدم یک کرم پلوش زدم یا آبی پلوش زدم دو تا من جاش 8 تا من پس زدم یکی هم
I got to tell you, when I first heard that, it blew me away. It is so interesting what you've got going on there. What can you tell us about what we just heard?
This is a very, very dear track for me. This is the voice of my mom.
Oh wow!
And I lost my mom.
I had no idea. I'm so sorry.
Hey, Baba.
It's okay, man. You take your time. Yeah.
Unfortunately, I lost my mom less than a year ago, and I couldn't go to Iran and visit her. My entire family is from Kashan. Persian rock is very important part of their life, and I was fascinated by the sound of when they are trying to what is that, Boftan?
They're weaving the
weaving the carpet, the rock, and the sound of that.
Sorry, let me just clarify that for people who are listening, because Shaya explained this to me actually when I brought him this track. I was like, this is amazing. I just thought it was some cool language, something that people were doing with some Farsi language. He said, no, this is what the women say to each other as they're weaving the carpets. And does it actually sound like that while they're doing that? Is it like almost meditative, like in a repetitive fashion?
Almost, but I twisted a little bit and bring it to music work, honestly. So I for a couple of years I was very fascinated with folkloric music and how different part of Iran has different kind of music, and I was traveling and recording different sound from different part of Iran, and I went to Kashan and I went to these places who they weave the carpet, and we started recording them for a couple of days. And I came back to Tehran, and my mom said, "What's wrong? Why you are not shining?" I said, "Okay." I went there for 3 days. I recorded a lot of things, but when they see the microphone, the energy is different. They are acting. It's not real anymore.
Right.
Also, they cannot keep their own rhythm because of me. And my mom said, "Do you want me to do it for you?" We, all of us, me and my brothers and my sister, we have a small carpet from our mom. She weaved for us, and this is a very dear gift for all of us. So she knows how to do it professionally. And I said, "Good, really? You're going to do that?" And she said, "Of course." And I brought all my things from my backpack to the kitchen, and easily she starts singing, and then I twist a little bit the rhythm, and then put the sound, and it came.
I had no idea that was your mom on the recording, and I'm sorry if it seemed like I didn't mean to ambush you with that. Have you heard that song since your mom died? Is that something you don't listen to because
actually,
of that?
Yes, the day that I heard he passed away, I listened to this song for a week, actually, almost.
Wow!
Oh my God! Almost every day for a week.
I get it, brother. I know I've lost a parent. I know how difficult it can be, but it is beautiful that you have that piece, and that you have her voice, and that we can hear that and share it. And yeah, wow. Finally, I want to go out on. I mean, you've got a lot. You've been busy. You've been busy writing and recording, because not only are there the 2 albums that have just been released from Opium Moon, you have a new album of your own coming out. And I want to actually go out on a song from it that you've been so kind to share with us. We're lucky that we can play it. A brand new song that is from your solo release coming out soon. This is a piece that I just love, and I've told you this. I really love this. It's called Labyrinth. What can you tell us about this piece that we're going to be going out on?
When I'm driving, when something comes to my mind, I immediately record it on my phone. The first name of this tune was Freeway 405, because I was in traffic. I was stuck in traffic in Los Angeles in Freeway 405, and it came to my mind that the melody, and the thing about the melody is that it's not ending, it's weaving around itself. So that's why, and then I decided to put the name Labyrinth or Hazar 2.
I love it. And can you just give a shout out to the musicians who are playing on it? Because
of course, Mahsa Qasemi, my friend, is a great cello player. She played cello on this. Ali Sanai, which is a fantastic, great bass player, played bass on this. And my dear friend Richard Sherwood played drums.
And are you on santoor or
yes.
tombak, your first instrument?
No, I'm on santoor.
I know. Hamid Jan, it has been such a pleasure. I'm so glad we got to do this. I can't wait to do it again, but in person next time. And I'm so thrilled with the music the success you've had very recently, and the music you're creating both solo and with Opium Moon. And I really appreciate you coming on Roqe.
Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate that you gave me this chance. I'm so happy to talk to you and talk to your audience. Thank you so much. Hope to see you soon.
I can't wait to see you guys in concert, and I'm sure people listening around the world can't wait either. Merci. See you soon. Khodafis.
Love you guys. Bye-bye.
My featured guest, that was Hamid Saeidi, an internationally acclaimed composer, musician, one of the founders of the group Opium Moon. And he has his own solo record coming out called Mist Over. Hamid joined us from Los Angeles today. Here's a piece from that brand new record coming out very soon called Labyrinth. A little taste of new music from Hamid Saeidi and a piece called Labyrinth. Microphones are back on for Groovy Shaya, Captain Reza, and the fabulous Keon.
So
That story about his mom.
Oh.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was his mom. Wow. I mean, everything about that is interesting. The recording, the tradition of doing that kind of repetitive work while they're doing their what do you call it?
Yeah, how do you, I was
Weaving.
thinking about that.
So weaving,
That's
yes.
it. That's
Weaving, and then he used his mom, and then obviously that was a bit of a trigger for him in terms of the emotional impact of hearing her voice. But what an interesting guy.
Yes. Actually, the one of the things that he mentioned, it's true. In Iran, the way that we are trained to play music, it's not kind of suitable here. It takes a lot of time that you can find yourself among musicians here. In terms of being able to like improvise with other musicians.
Right.
Yeah, actually, he's right. They don't train us to improvise in Iran. Yeah, it's very kind of strict. And
Yes.
Yeah.
But isn't improvisation is more so a jazz thing? I mean, I'm not.
No,
No.
not necessarily.
No.
I don't know much about music.
Mhm.
So.
Yeah.
But
It shows
For sure, improvisation is a
Big part
main-
of jazz. Yeah,
but yes,
yeah.
But,
But it's
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's not. In
no.
general.
You can improv as a rock band, or
Yes.
you can be a jam band. The Grateful Dead.
But you know what he said that I really like. I mean, you brought it up. Was the fact that it's like if you make if you make a mistake, like we're humans. Humans make mistake. Let that be part of the music. Like it's okay. It's fine. I really like that.
Well,
I like
and
what he
the
said.
idea that the four people are going to come together and dial back each of their respective instincts to want to
Yeah.
play their best chops and just
Yes.
like respect the collective. And
That's
I
true.
thought that was really
Yeah,
interesting.
It was really, really cool.
It was educational for me. I had no idea they have this folkloric singing they do when they when they weave carpets.
Carpets,
I had
yeah.
no idea. I guess I've never seen women weaving carpets. So I
But
wouldn't
no, that I haven't seen in person women
Yeah.
weaving carpets either. But in Iran, like there are like 4 or 5 national channels, right? On like state TV.
Okay.
That's like it's all like government paid, whatever.
Right.
And on Channel 4, I remember they used to play a lot of documentaries, cheesy, like cookie cutter, very like documentaries, and they would make documentaries about like they would play a lot of them about carpets and people who make carpets, weave carpets, like around Ashayer, they say, like nomads and in the south or Baluchistan and stuff. And you see a lot of it like on TV, like they would play like footages of women weaving carpets,
Wait,
singing.
do the men also
No,
sing as
well, I've
what?
never
Really?
seen.
No, but
I only
yeah,
seen-
they
They
do
do that?
carpets.
And
yeah.
they sing as well. They have a little
Yes, I mean it's like
beautiful.
there is a conductor that who read the plan like زرد و از روی آبی
Yeah.
they would say
Wow.
زدم آبی رو از روی سبز زدم.
Wow.
Yeah, somebody is
That's true.
reading the map.
like traditional men on a ship who
Yeah,
are
that's how I imagine.
with the
Yeah.
oars who
Right,
are
right, right.
Yes, but-
rowing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but it's interesting that it's like a conductor. You have a map in front of you. It's a plan of the the
Carpet.
carpet and
Huh.
they
And so for hours they sit there and sing and
For
continue.
Months. It takes months to make a
Wow.
carpet, so they do it like
How long do you think you would last as a weaver, Kian?
Probably kill myself at some point, I would think.
In the first hour?
Yeah.
2 minutes into
This
weaving
is bullshit.
Kian
When's
would be
break?
Like, just shut up.
Kian would be like, it's been 45 minutes. Is there an appetizer before the next 45 minutes? Or I'm sorry. Well, I'm just wondering if there's.
I was wondering if I'm going to get a Chardonnay with my dinner.
But also hearing the same singing over and over, you'd probably lose your mind at some point, no?
Can't you see the poetry in it? God damn it, Kian.
Power to them, man. Someone's got to do it.
Hey, a shout out to Farid Ameryoun and York National Realty, yorknational.com. York National Realty is based out of Aurora, Ontario, Canada, where I lost my driver's license a couple times, got beaten up. But then, now it's a better place. There's York National Realty, not too far north of Toronto. The owner is a guy named Farid Ameryoun. This is a boutique real estate brokerage company that provides top-tier service from first-time home buyers to investors looking for new opportunities in the communities they serve. Honestly, it's a great company. If you're looking for real estate in Ontario, Canada, this is a boutique company to go to. York National. Farid has also made it his mission to give back to the Iranian community in the diaspora and has supported a number of Persian community events and projects. And this episode of Roqe is brought to you with some support from him and his team. A big thank you to Farid Ameryoun and the York National Realty team for all they do. yorknational.com, yorknational.com. A Monday, Arash Sobhani coming up on the big show. So we'll look forward to that from from Kiosk. You know this word, right, Kian?
Kiosk?
Right. You look at the word, you go
Right.
kiosk.
Yes.
I need to buy tickets for the Broadway show. I'm going to go to the
Kiosk.
Right.
No.
So now there's a famous Iranian Persian band,
Right.
rock band, kind of a pioneering indie rock band called Kiosk. But the Persians, not us, but these guys who fancy themselves as they say kiosk.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So if you
Why?
say, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't, because obviously, the person, that friend of yours who just comes back from Havana and is like, yeah, I was in Cuba. And you're like, fuck off. You just say Cuba, you're like a normal person.
Right.
We get it. You went to Cuba. And
Yeah.
now you have the accent. I was in Cuba,
Oh,
So now if I say that, if I'm and coming up, kiosk, I just sound like, But then if I say kiosk, the people are like, oh, that he doesn't know how to say the name.
Wait, so how does Arash pronounce it? Arash Sobhani.
Well, we had him on once before with the Pink Floyd special, and I think he said it's okay in English to say kiosk.
Yeah.
But oh no, not to the Persian fans.
Yeah, I mean, if you meet a Persian people in the street and say, "Do you know kiosk?" they would say, "No, what's that? What's the band?" But if you say, "Do you know kiosk?" they
Wow.
recognize
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Persians are weird, man.
So Monday we have the guy from
Hughes.
that band. What Shia said. Full time for Roqe for today. Thank you so much for listening. Our website is roqemedia.com. That is where you can find everything. All of our episodes, our guests, our links to the Roqe funnies, our videos. roqemedia.com. Thanks to the folks who put this show together each week. Fabulous Keon, Ponta the artist, Thoughtful Nagin, producer Susan, Super Patty Saw, Savvy Roham, Aghay Mehdad, sponsorship Sean, Captain Reza, and Groovy Shia. Thank you to all of you out there for supporting us and for sharing our content. We love when you share it. We love when you subscribe. You can do that on any of our platforms for free, and you can actually become a patron to help us out by pressing the Support Us button at Roqe Media. We see who the patrons are, and we really appreciate you guys. Find me on Instagram at Jian Ghomeshi. Mizun Bashi.